Audiobook Club with Steve Phillips and Matthew Layton.
On this episode of Audiobook Club, we're taking you into the world of Oscar-nominated author Hanif Kureishi, a man whose life has been turned upside down in the most profound way.
On Boxing Day, in Rome, after taking a comfortable walk to the Piazza del Popolo, followed by a stroll through Villa Borghese, and then back to the apartment, I had a fall. Sitting at a table in Isabella's living room, with my iPad in front of me, I had just seen Mo Salah score against Aston Villa. I was sipping a beer when I began to feel dizzy. I leant forward and put my head between my legs. I woke up a few minutes later in a pool of blood, my neck in a grotesquely twisted position. Isabella on her knees beside me.
This week, a real about turn from the book we covered last week, which is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And this really tackles the situation of a man, in his own words, who had his life completely upended by an accident, and a very famous man at that. So Hanif Kureishi, this is a book that you recommended, Matt. What do you think of this book?
So I think there is a connection between Atomic Habits and this book. Hanif Kureishi, who is the man who wrote My Beautiful Laundrette and Buddha of Suburbia, a 70-year-old author, which is not... It doesn't seem that old anymore when you get to our age, does it,
No,
Steve?
no, it seems just around the corner, really unnervingly.
So he woke up on the floor in his girlfriend's apartment in Rome, and he said in those situations, most people say they see the life that they have lived flash before their eyes. And he said, but his future flashed before his eyes. He thought he was just about to pop his clogs. So the idea of how does he rebuild his life? Actually, it seems that he has used writing this very book and the blog that preceded it has helped him carry on, if that makes sense. And yes, it's a dark subject, but there is a lot of humour in this book, I think, Steve.
There is, isn't there? You just imagine being in that situation, and the last thing you want to do is write. I mean, he's obviously a writer. That's what he needs, isn't it? You need to be doing something that you've always done, your passion, I guess, to kind of get through this ordeal. But imagine, not being able to lift a pen anymore and having to dictate this book to your partner while they tap it furiously on the notes on their phone in the hospital. I mean, it's just to try and get in. I mean, he obviously expresses himself so eloquently about how he's feeling. It's very raw, really raw what he's talking about. He goes through the what actually physically and technically happens with his care, how he feels in his own body, the place that he's in, all the patients that surround him as well, and the five different hospitals he was in, all up.
Look, I'm going to ask you at the beginning, before we do our usual 3-stage process, where we have a look at the author's life and the text, and then have a look and see, does the audiobook bring anything to the party? Would you say that this book, with its grim subject matter, did it leave you down and depressed?
Yes, it did. Until literally, I don't want to give it away as it's a spoiler. You've got to go and read this book. But the very last line just really just completely turned it around. Actually,
you see, I wasn't feeling that bad before that point. I mean, the thing is, it's the Ben McIntyre, the writer of Colditz. It's his question, isn't it, that he asks in the introduction of the Colditz book, which is, what would you do in that situation? And I think it would take quite a lot to be as positive, as humorous, as flippant as Hanif Kureishi is. I have a lovely clip here that indicates the dark sense of humour that is so important for all of this book, I think.
I'm watching a lot of television now and find most of it unoriginal and unadventurous. The era of neoliberalism in creative writing has somehow convinced people that you can purchase the ability to write. To a certain extent you can, but you can only buy the obvious things, like formula. With real writing, there is contact between the deepest part of one person and that of another. You should take it for granted that the reader has a sympathetic ear, that they will receive your words kindly and with interest, just as you might listen to them. It is time for my second enema now. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, now we've heard that clip again. Yeah, you can completely see where the humor is coming from. Obviously, it's very it's bleak humor. It's very dark humor because man alive, you're going to feel in a really dark place, aren't you? After having the experience that he has had. But yeah, he does finish on a flourish there, doesn't he?
Yeah, I wasn't depressed while listening to the book at all. I have to say, slightly in awe of the man for doing this, considering everything that he's lost. And yeah, it is the simple, the big one that he has that we all imagine. I think a little bit, I think I've always had the thing of, I don't want to hang around too long. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And if it gets to the bit where I have to get somebody else to wipe my arse, then I'm taking a one-way trip to Switzerland, I think is the way I put it. And amazingly, the thing that's happened to him is he can't wipe his own arse. He can't, and as you said, he can't pick up a pen. He's got a room full of fountain pens and inks of all hues and pencils and pens. He loves his tools, and he can't even pick that up. But he's found a way through it, and I find that quite inspirational.
It is inspirational. That's exactly the word, isn't it? He talks about how he can't, when he eventually goes from hospital to hospital to hospital to home, and he talks about the first time he's back inside his house. It's obviously changed a lot. It's been adjusted and all the rest of it for him coming back home. And I think he does visit for a few hours before that as well, doesn't he? So he makes these visits, then he's home permanently. But just up the stairs is his study. That his favorite room in the whole house, and he can't ever see it. He can't ever go up there. But he does find a way through it. I mean, it's obviously a very bleak story. It's obviously, we heard about it in the news when it happened. Hanif Kureishi's been doing obviously all the interview rounds to promote the book as well. He's very eloquent at explaining exactly how it all works. Very sort of matter of fact, isn't he? Just sort of talking about it. And actually, you know what? I do feel somewhat reassured if I ever have anything like that happen to me. This is kind of a...
I'm not doing it.
It's a guide. It's a preview, isn't it?
No, I'm not doing it. You can't. Don't. I'm not going to wipe your ass.
No, well, yes, I'll write my blog as well, which will just say, and my co-host went to the extra mile in quite a really nauseating way. I didn't even ask him to do it. I had a carer standing by, but Matt insisted.
I've missed a bit.
You've been down there an awful long time, Matt. What's going on?
It's dark and lonely work, Steve. Yes, good.
Yes. So essentially, this book covers a year in his life, doesn't it?
All right, Steve. We'll start with our three-way process, our three-stage process that we always do, which is we first look at the author, then we look at the text of the book, and then finally we look at how it's all brought together and whether the audiobook brings anything to the party. So the author is Hanif Kureishi. He was born in 1954. He was born to... Now, it depends what you're reading here. Either a Pakistani or Indian father and a white British mother. There's a thing where basically his father was born in India, but the family moved to Pakistan in 1947 around the partition of India. So sometimes he's referred to as Pakistani, and this one he refers to himself as half Indian. Growing up in Bromley, strangely the same sort of suburban hellhole is how kind of a lot of people portray that kind of thing. But strangely enough, he had David Bowie a couple of years ahead of him in school, who showed that there was a path out. And he mentions in the book a pub in which I believe featured on this show a couple of months ago when we reviewed Elton John's book. I think he refers to the pub where he saw David Bowie play, and then later on where Reg Dwight started getting his musical chops and learned to play in front of crowds. So, there are some exciting things going on in Bromley. In 1977, don't diss it, is what I think.
No, Bromley's happening. Even now, even today, we should go down there. Yeah.
Well, it's
Bromley.
only two stops from Victoria. It's a fast train, although you're technically in Kent, and you got the Glades, mate. I've spent some time hanging out in the Glades.
You do it's the Glades shopping centre, is it?
Yeah, yes, but I'm quite familiar with Bromley.
Right, okay. So took an unexpected turn again.
There
Once
you go,
again, Bromley.
There you go. The experience that we older gentlemen have on this podcast is quite remarkable. We can reference just about anything. He went on to write My Beautiful Laundrette, which you can see the stuff that's relevant to him. He said he didn't have any books about underwater kingdoms or fairies to write. He wrote about the people around him, and that was his gift. His gift was such that first screenplay that he wrote was nominated for an Oscar for Best Screenplay. He's since written The Buddha of Suburbia, The Black Album. The only stuff I'd read of his was actually collections of his short stories. I like a short story. He continued producing novels until 2018, where ironically he wrote a book about an old man confined to a wheelchair. So he can't really write a fictionalized version of what's happening to him now, because unfortunately he kind of predicted it, which is a bit grim, really.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, very prophetic.
I am. For the last. And again, we're now getting onto the book as his life emerges and merges with the content of this book. And on Boxing Day 23. But it's less that, the weird thing about this is it is just a year ago. You think, how quickly could all of this happen? He fell over. He was having a beer, watching the footy at his girlfriend's flat in Rome, minding his own business, and he felt a bit faint, and he woke up in a pool of his own blood, with his girlfriend Isabella kneeling over him. And for a healthy man who enjoyed going for a walk and writing with a pen and wiping his own arse. Suddenly all of these abilities were robbed from him, and he was trapped in a bed in an Italian hospital. Again, the size of the scale of the impact that it's had on his life is unthinkable, really, I guess, Steve.
It did make you really truly appreciate, and I think he touched on this in the book as well. How when he was obviously before the accident, before what happened to him happened, talking about all the usual things you would do, and how envious he was of people being able to shake a hand, or I remember he talked about one of his carers or medical team, might have been a doctor actually, just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to Tuscany for a couple of weeks. I'll see you then." And him thinking, "Wow, you're going to Tuscany for 2 weeks just like that." And you also know that I'm going to still be here. I think he says in my nappies. I think in 2 weeks' time, and he was right.
I think we wanted to touch on the mental strain that this has put on him, and as I say, the thing where I really sympathise, I think you do, is the lack of sleep. Waking up and what most of us do is you get up, go for a pee, or indeed roll over onto the other side. And those are physical actions that we take for granted. And he can't do either of those things. And I know I'd be in trouble if I were left on my own in a new debilitated condition with my thoughts at night. I should imagine those are the hardest times for him.
Yeah, you can't imagine. I mean, imagine if you had, it comes down to the point where if you had an itch, and you can't scratch it. Oh,
yeah.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing that either. Put that away.
No. You will.
So look, that's the thing that gets me. That there is so much that he lost. As you know, I've done a fair bit of work with people who've lost their sight, and losing your sight also means losing your mobility, your freedom. You have to rely on other people, and then on top of that, what most people have is they lose their ability to do their job and lose that purpose. And yeah, I think that would become a particular burden for me at 3:00 in the morning if I couldn't roll over or go for a pee, to be honest.
You touched on there about people's disabilities through these experiences. Salman Rushdie plays quite a big part in this book, doesn't he? In the inspiration he took from Salman Rushdie, because of course at the same time Salman Rushdie was attacked while giving a talk, wasn't he? And lost one eye. And he took inspiration from him.
Yeah, and both of them, back at their desk, which is actually, not everybody who goes through something like this has that advantage. And even in this book, I think there are bits where, it's weird when you go to a hospital, Steve, and you think there's something wrong with you or whoever it is you're looking after, but there's always somebody worse off than you, if you know what I mean. And I think he found other people were, in more dire circumstances than he was. He's got a little bit of a twitch movement in his feet and his arms, and he can squeeze his butt cheeks together. I think he also realizes that it could have been worse.
And he talks at great length as well about when we're talking about the mental strain of things. It's not just him suffering mental strain as well. He talks at great length about his partner Isabella, who effectively becomes his carer for a lot of the time. She seems like an amazing person, keeping him calm and, I guess, effectively playing a huge part in saving his life. Really, to not go down that towards the dark end.
But it's the daily grind, Steve. That's what it is as well. Funnily enough, you do know a little about a bit about full-time caring, but it's the idea that you have to be up at 6:30 in the morning to start the day's routine, and he does have professional outside carers come in, but it's a full-time job. It also changes your relationships with people, and that's the thing that I think he really does a great job of describing in this book, is how, Isabella asks, would you have done all this for me? And he can't quite answer that question. And then there's the bit where, as well as being his carer, she is also the person who is being made to write down his very important thoughts. So he dictates initially all of his blog posts or writing to her, and then later with his son Carlo. But the interesting thing is how she's not only doing the carer bit, she's also managing. And I think he portrays himself in this book as a bit of a diva, artistic type, and the fact that he says, and English isn't her first language, so it takes a long time. I think it's really fascinating. And then again, forgive me, but later in the book, he finally gets home to Shepherd's Bush. I don't think this is a spoiler. And as he's going to go and get his hair cut at his barber, which was something he used to love doing with his sons, which hadn't happened for 14 months, he's going down the Shepherd's Bush road, and then somebody who he doesn't like, he refers to him as an enemy from the 70s, comes up and... Yeah, he wanted a hole in the ground to open up in front of him, but the other bloke, doing all right, fitting well, walking around. Hanif Kureishi in a wheelchair, and just how debilitating that must be.
He
for
mentions
your
being
self-esteem.
defeated, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Being defeated in that particular line, but we've all got an enemy from the 70s, haven't we?
We certainly do.
Fans of Blake Seven.
Let's have a little listen to a passage from the book. The book is read by Art Malik. Now, Art Malik is he's 2 years older than Hanif Kureishi and comes from a similar background. So in many ways was the right person to read this book. And frankly, I like you, have seen Hanif Kureishi being interviewed all over the shop. He's done some media appearances. Some of them lasted up to an hour, but the whole idea of doing 8 hours of audiobook recording, I think we'll let him off, won't we, Steve?
Yes, I think definitely. He gets a pass.
Good. All right, let's have a listen to how Art Malik delivers this book.
My bond with my 3 boys has also developed in ways I hadn't expected. Sachin was angry with me for a while. He would sit in my hospital room vibrating with fury about my condition. He couldn't wait to get out and go home and get on with his life, as if I were an obstacle. And then, sometimes, he would return an hour later feeling guilty and annoyed with himself. But if I ever wondered why anyone would want to have children at all, I can assure you that it will pay off in the long run, and that they will love you as you loved them when they were helpless and dependent.
What do you think about the choice of Art Malik as narrator, Steve?
Oh, I just thought it was absolutely perfect. He's got the voice that really conveys the emotional turmoil of what Hanif Kureishi is going through. And I love that. I love the way, just going back to how the story was, how the story was formatted for audiobook, and obviously with the book as well, is that it doesn't start off. I've seen this when you read people's diaries, when they publish their diaries, it always starts off with the date, doesn't it? The date and the year and what have you. But it starts off with the story. It starts off with the story of the day, and then it finishes with Art Malik saying, January the 23rd, 2023, at the end of it. So it's not the thing. You start off with actually what happened at the start of that day. And it's the very last chapter. Again, this is what, I don't know spoilers or anything, but he really does give that finality to it, to the book, Art Malik, in the way he intonates that particular last day, just saying that last date.
Yeah, no, I agree. And there was a bit where, actually, having just listened to the end again just before we stepped up to our microphones, Art Malik does the meaningful last line. But of course, then he has to go, published by Penguin. Thanks for listening. And he suddenly, you realise that he has, as low-key and slightly grumpy as the voice is, that was a performance. He was becoming Hanif Kureishi and trying to speak with his voice. It wasn't just Art Malik reading it. Funny enough, there's a bit where this isn't where I thought Art Malik would show up in the audiobook clubbosphere, because I had him down in my head as Ibrahim in the Thursday Murder Club, which is a part that went to Ben Kingsley in the end. But I guess that's who Ibrahim was in my head before, when I read the books. So look, a great choice of actor, somebody we all recognise from somewhere, be it a James Bond film or a Jackanory or whatever. Did an actor's job on it, and I should imagine it took quite a lot of stamina to do that for 6 hours and however many minutes it was.
Yeah, it's actually the second book that Art Malik has narrated of Kureishi's, actually. So he also narrated Something to Tell You, which was one of Kureishi's stories about a London psychoanalyst on his coming of age. So it's the second book. I wonder if that might be the inspiration, but he's the perfect voice to take you through that experience.
They've got
It's
form
kind of-
together, have they?
Yeah, it's warm. It's so human. Actually, that's what he really gets across here with his narration. So once again, it's definitely performance, not just narration here.
Yeah, absolutely. And funnily enough, they always say, don't they, that if a rock star dies, it's the best thing that can happen for their record sales. And I have to say that having gone through this book twice, once in the BBC Book at Bedtime version, which unfortunately is no longer available, that was 2 hours and 10 minutes of Art Malik reading this, and they chopped out a lot of the stuff that was there. But after spending a total of 9 or 10 hours listening to Art Malik doing Hanif Kureishi, I realised I really want to go back and read My Beautiful Laundrette and Buddha of Suburbia. I think, funnily enough, falling off his perch may be the best thing that happened to book sales for Hanif Kureishi, because I'm certainly not letting it lie. I'm not putting it down. I'm going back for more.
Yeah, I mean Buddha of Suburbia is amazing. And My Beautiful Laundrette is amazing. If you haven't experienced any of Hanif Kureishi's work, then go to it.
There's a bit where I feel that, having read this book, my overwhelming feeling is I quite like this dude. He's a bit of an arsehole. He thinks he's cooler than us, but at the same time, maybe he's our arsehole, and I want to be mates with him as well. I admire him and how he has handled this situation, and pity's not the word, I guess, but sympathy, to him and all those around him, and joy to his publisher, I guess.
Absolutely. There we go. Shattered by Hanif Kureishi is narrated by Art Malik. It was released 31st of October last year. 6 hours and 9 minutes, published by Penguin Audio. We won't stop there. We are back next week with a very different book this time. And it's a book by a very well-known comedian, and a Strictly Come Dancing winner, Bill Bailey. Matt, have you read much Bill Bailey at all?
I love seeing him on stage. I've never been to a live gig, but I've watched his live performances where he gets to structure the whole thing, and the man is clearly a genius.
His book is My Animals and Other Animals, and it came out in November last year. Lovely title. 5 hours and 3 minutes, published by Quercus. And that is our book next week. So if you want to read along with us, give us your thoughts. We are on Blue Sky, we're on Instagram. It's Audiobook Show on both. Let us know your thoughts, and we shall wrap things up there. From Adelaide in Australia, Matt, we'll see you again next week.
Ta-ta!
Cheerio.